Hello there, fellow cultists. This is DM Nell, and I'm back with a new Shadow Talk. This is episode 166, and today we're going to be talking about the Honor in Life, Glory in Death Dwarf supplement. But before we get to that, let's talk about all the other new goodness that Schwab Entertainment has released here since my last video. So we have another Black Star supplement here. This one is called the Book of Salvation, Order of the Sacred Heart. Let's see here. What says, whether allies for good or religious fanatics, the Order of the Sacred Heart brings new options to your Shadow of the Demon Lord campaign. So it sounds like either a religious order or a cult that you can add. So there you go. I have it. I haven't read it, but yeah, since I backed the Black Star Kickstarter way back in the day, I'm getting all the Black Star stuff for free, which I gotta say it's nice, I guess, but you know, I kind of wish Schwab would just drop the Black Star stuff. It's I think it's just a bit much. It's a bit. It's a bit of a distraction, actually. So I think that the Black Star stuff was originally intended to be done by a different company, but then they kind of fell through. And so Schwab decided to take it over to honor the commitment, which is great. I mean, it's fantastic that he did that. But at the same time, it's, I think, again, a distraction. It's kind of taking away from him doing other stuff. In order to fulfill this obligation, which I personally wouldn't care. We've gotten enough Black Star stuff. It's worth the money that I already put in. So in my opinion, he can just drop it. I don't know how much more he needs to put out in order to completely fulfill that Kickstarter. But, if you ask me, we're good. We're good. You can drop it. Okay, so anyway, let's see here. Dungeon of the Damned, the Hateful Abyss. This is number 6, I believe, in the series of the Dungeon of the Damned, which is a mega dungeon set in the Shadow of the Demon Lord world. Dungeon of the Damned, the Hateful Abyss presents a new and lethal dungeon for expert characters as part of a series, or can also be used as a one-shot. Now, I have not read any of the Dungeon of the Damned adventures as of yet. If I am ever to run that, it will be way down the road. I got to say though that I'm not the biggest fan of mega dungeons. They last too long. I'm a fan of the 5-room dungeon. That's just long enough to get in, do your thing, and then get the hell out. Spending 2 years in the same dungeon. Yeah, that's not for me. But anyway, to each their own. Okay, so those are the only 2 new items that are on the Schwab Entertainment. But I have, being a backer of the Black Star supplement, yet another supplement from the Black Star line, and that is Blight Scar's Temple of the Abomination. Just got that a couple days ago. Let's see what it says. A threat to the people living in the Northern Reach comes to life in this exciting supplement for Shadow of the Demon Lord, an ancient, hateful thing, perhaps born from the violence between the fairies and the trolls. It has survived by feeding its appetite for fresh mortal flesh. There we go. The villagers offer up their young to appease the monster, for if they don't, it will kill them all. Sounds legit. In this short expansion, you'll find everything you need to introduce this horror and its domain as a place the characters can happen upon or seek out as part of their effort to save the world from the growing darkness. Okay, so here's the about Black Star. So those of you that don't, wondering what the hell I'm talking about as far as Black Star goes, the Black Star product began with Death and Decay to expand on the world of Shadow of the Demon Lord with officially licensed products. Not long after, Schwab Entertainment took over the line to deliver variously themed accessories. Blight Scars presents places so evil they leave a lasting stain on your world. If you enjoy the supplement, be sure to check out Blight Scars, The Skygrave, and other entries in the series. Okay, so there you go. That's what the Black Star thing is all about. Okay, so yeah, you got a Temple of the Abomination. I like the name. That sounds pretty cool. So I might actually check that out. That might be a drop-in at some point. Okay, so that is it for the new stuff. So what are we talking about today? The main topic. Main topic here is Honor in Life, Glory in Death, a setting expansion for Shadow the Weird Wizard. This is the 4th setting expansion. I just received my paperback in the mail the other day. So got that right here. So this makes number 4, along with Glory to the High One, with a fairy hand in hand, and Weird Ancestries. So, not really sure what the next one is going to be, but these are the ones that have been released thus far. As usual, writing, design, and art direction by Robert J. Schwalb, editing Sue Wineland, proofreading Jay Spite, cover design, graphic design, and layout Kara Hamilton, cover design or cover illustration Jack Kaiser. He's a familiar name. Interior illustrations by Yason Beleza. Yeah, I tortured that name. Vladimir Lubin and Britt Martin. All right, so what does this have in it? Well, this has everything that is dwarf. If you like dwarves, and I gotta say I love dwarves. I've always liked dwarves. They're my favorite class to play whenever I get to play a character class, as long as I'm not playing a wizard. I'm not a big fan of dwarf wizards. They actually talk about dwarf wizards in this book, but I'm not a big fan of dwarf wizards. I'm kind of the mindset that dwarves are kind of inherently anti-magic, but they can capture magic in runes and apply those to items. That's where I come from as far as dwarves and their relationship with magic. This supplement has a different take on that, which is fine. I have no problem with that, but that's why I don't generally play dwarf wizards, because I just don't see those two going together. Whenever I play a dwarf, it's usually like a Warhammer dwarf, dwarf with a big orange mohawk, or braided beard, Warhammer or battle axe. Definitely a warrior type. Don't really see rogue dwarves for the most part. Dwarf clerics, yes, that's definitely a thing. At any rate, all of that is addressed in this book. So if you're a fan of dwarves, just like I am, then this book is definitely for you. So in fact, just as an aside, my first, probably my only Warhammer fantasy army was a dwarf army. Haven't played those in a while. I haven't played Warhammer Fantasy Battles in probably a couple decades, but I still have my army sitting right over there on the shelf. So one of these days, those guys are coming out. Of course, mine is the old army. Probably would not work on today's tabletop with the current rules. But at any rate, I still have them. I can put them out there and take pictures all I want. All right, so anyway, back to this book. So we have an introduction here. He talks about what dwarves are to, Robert Schwalb talks about what dwarves are to him. And kind of similar to my take on them, he likes the Warhammer dwarves. He does have some bullet points here on some basic facts about dwarves in this setting on Earth, ERTH. Dwarves have mysterious origins. Several contradictory stories tell their beginnings. They stand shorter than humans but weigh the same. Dwarves have abundant body hair. Nearly all grow facial hair when they come of age. Where humans count their lifespan in decades, dwarves live for centuries. The earliest dwarf settlements began in the hills and mountains. Such places saw many early polities embroiled in fighting against other people and monsters. Most dwarves eschew worship of gods, favoring or in favor of honoring their ancestors. They believe their spirits live on after death and judge the living. And then finally, a few dwarves dwell in lands occupied by those of other ancestries. Excuse me. Okay, so that's part of the introduction here. That pretty much summarizes what this book is about. Then we go into detail. So you got the beginnings of the dwarves in chapter 1 from Stone and Steel, talks about their homelands, and then it touches a little bit about their possible origins. In the sidebar it says invaders from another world. Could dwarves have come from another world? Dwarves might have reached Earth from a world that fell victim to the dread hunger in the void and wound up here underground or not to start their lives over again. So that's a pretty interesting theory. There are some others that are bullet pointed here. Dwarves burrowed into this world from another to escape some existential threat. They burrowed out from the forge of creation at the Earth's center to flee the fire serpent who devoured their spirits. That's kind of evocative. The world's spirit created them. They awoke from the dirt and stone to take their rightful place as rulers of all they surveyed. That's pretty cool. Some dwarves believe themselves the lost children of an ancient deity who cast them out for their willfulness. Only through honorable conduct, skill at artistry, or some similar achievement will they find themselves worthy of returning to the goddess's embrace. So those are some of the origin stories for the dwarves. So really, nobody knows. Might be something that your dwarves in your campaign setting might quest for, the actual origins. I kind of like to think that the dwarves of this world share some commonalities with the dwarves of the Shadow of the Demon Lord world. In fact, I like to think that there are a lot of connections between the Earth of Shadow of the Demon Lord and the Earth of Shadow of the Weird Wizard. In fact, in my campaign that I'm currently running for Shadow of the Weird Wizard, I do have some connecting tissue there. But at any rate, let's go ahead and see here. Let's see, homelands. Okay, so we have hill country clans. We have the mountain kingdom. And then we have dwellers in the deep. And then we have doom of the fire dwarves. Fire dwarves are kind of dwarves that live in the fiery region. So they have some resistance to fire and heat and that sort of thing. Pretty cool. Dwellers in the deep are more gray dwarves, I think, mountain dwarves, and then the hill dwarves. All right, so here's another possible origin for the dwarves here, the iron vessel. 20 years ago, explorers venturing high into the Dragon's Teeth Mountains discovered the rusting remains of an enormous structure. Investigation revealed it as the remnants of what could only be a ship. Though how such a metal object could float on water was anyone's guess. A void ship, maybe? Examination of the interior revealed designs of dwarven construction, bearded dwarves, runic script, and more. The explorers fled soon after making the discovery, as they found the vessel crawling with ghosts. So this could be a pretty cool quest in and of itself. Okay. All right, so it goes into detail of each of these regions that dwarves may live in. They also live on borrowed lands, so you can find them pretty much where you find other ancestries. Let's see here. This sidebar here talks about the shadow years. The dwarves never had much use for the old empire of mankind. From the earliest encounters with that place, they deemed the people there venal, decadent, and thoroughly corrupt. As the empire expanded its territory to annex theirs, the dwarves abandoned their homes to settle in the old country and later the borderlands. Many dwarves today earn their place in their clans by going on cleansings, which are expeditions into the ruins of the fallen empire, in which they kill mutants and recover lost treasures. Again, that'd be a cool quest. A bunch of dwarves going into the fallen empire to kill mutants. All right. It also talks about the fortress of Galdak Rak. The dwarves founded Galdak Rak so long ago they can only speculate when, though all agree the stronghold took shape before the empire formed in the north. The legends tell that Goldak Rak held the royal gem in safekeeping as it was entrusted to the dwarves there by one of the race's founders before passing on into the halls of plenty. The citadel, charged with this sacred task, guarded the gem well over 1,000 years. Its story ends when a demon from the abyss broke through from the depths, slaughtering all the dwarves to take the royal gem for itself. Expeditions to track down the ruins occur every few decades, each with no more success than the previous batch of treasure hunters. Historians long claimed that Galdak Rak stood somewhere in the Dragon's Teeth Mountains, but having found not even a trace of it so far, it leads others to believe that it might rest somewhere in the New Lands. The one who recovers the royal gem would, according to priests, unite the dwarves and usher in 1,000 years of peace. All right, so there you go. All right, so the next section talks about cultural elements, artistry, lasting beauty, jewelry. Dwarves are all about the hair, okay? So if you're playing a dwarf, you need to make a big deal about your hair because they are fond of their hair, especially their beards. Braiding, sculpting. The dwarves like to grow them out as long as possible, tuck them into their belts, adorn them with different things. So yeah, hair is a big thing. Guardian spirits. So since the dwarves don't worship gods, but they believe that their ancestors watch over them, then they believe that their ancestor spirits are always watching. And then ancestral treasures. Actually, what does it say? The axe one dwarf wields might have come to them through a long line of ancestors, each having used the weapon in battle to win glory and acclaim. Another dwarf carries a heavy tome on their back, proud to keep the records of their lineage going back thousands of years. Dwarves count gifts from their elders among their most prized possessions. So even though these ancestral treasures may or may not be magical, these dwarves still value them because they belong to their ancestors. All right, gusto for living. Dwarves love living, eating, drinking, boasting about their accomplishments. Let's see. Of course, you can't have dwarves without grudges. Let's see here. Most dwarves, just like fairies and trolls, many in fact despise them. The animosity dwarves feel towards these folk stems from old conflicts, wrongs done to them, and misunderstandings. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on in here, but it's not letting me talk much. Old tales explain dwarves found themselves caught between the trolls and the fairies in their fighting in Earth's early days. The trolls used the dwarves as expendable soldiers, while the fairies, understandably, winnowed their numbers. Since those times, trolls vex dwarves. The trolls invade dwarf settlements, make thralls of the conquered, and compel their prisoners to labor for them under appalling conditions. Some trolls eat dwarves. The fairies have done little to endear themselves to dwarves either. Much of the conflict stems from broken promises and agreements the fairies seem to have put out of mind. And then there are the insults. Some fairies love to shave dwarves as they capture dwarves that they capture, while others, especially kobolds, wreak havoc on their delvings. Several highborn keep dwarves as pets, warping their minds to make them into playthings and fools. A little sidebar on the runic language, and then it starts the section on dwarf adventurers. Why do dwarfs choose to go on adventures? I think there's plenty of reasons. There's a few bullet pointed here. Professions for the dwarves, dwarven equipment, such as ring armor, warhammer, these sorts of things is what you start your character with. Playing dwarf characters, you have common dwarf professions, table of dwarf names, and then we have the dwarf novice paths. The first novice path is the Spirit Sworn. As mentioned, dwarves live alongside their ancestor spirits, or so they believe. The spirits reveal themselves rarely, if ever, so most dwarves go their whole lives without ever receiving confirmation about the spiritual truths passed down by their elders. The priests make short work of doubts, though. They know the special ceremonies to invoke the spirits and gain instruction from them directly. Thus, the priests remind dwarves about the obligations they all have and the doom that awaits them if the ancestors find them wanting. So the spirit swarm is a ancestor speaker, I guess. All right, so let's see, what can they do? Spiritual calling, level 1 spirit sworn has ancestor spirits and gathering spirits. Level 2 has spirit recovery. Level 5 has spiritual attack and spiritual guidance. All right, so one unique novice path for dwarves, and then it goes into dwarves as fighters, and then dwarves as mages, priests, and rogues. We have a sidebar here, dwarves at higher tiers, and it talks about the different paths for expert and master tiers that would be good for dwarves. All right, then we go into chapter 2, From the Forges. This is the equipment section. The first part here talks about mythic materials, so it goes on about adamantine, cinnabar, mithril, and orichalcum. Dwarves have mined the golden mineral named orichalcum from the deep underground for centuries. The metal resembles gold but lacks its softness. Orichalcum is suitable for forging arms and armor. Furthermore, it has strong magic resistance. See, there you go. Talking about magic resistance. All right, then we have star metal. All right, then we talk about dwarves' armor and shields. We have a bladed shield, spiked armor, steam armor, crystal armor, hermetic armor, and ablative armor. All of those sound cool. I'm not going to read through those, but these are definitely some cool ideas to differentiate dwarves or dwarven made armor anyway. Then we have the weapons and ammunition of the dwarves. Such items as the axe pistol, the catchpole, the grapnel gun. What do they steal that from Batman or what? Hand cannon. That sounds cool. Repeating crossbow, scattergun, and spear axe. Different types of dwarf ammunition is acidic, burning, fragmentation, shattering, shredding, and smoke. And then we have dwarf gear and trinkets, which include air bubble, builder block, candle cap, dark goggles, glowworms, hand pick, illuminated ink, iron black, iron filings, loyal cart, magnet, portable anvil, returning weapon. Always loved returning weapons. My favorite combination in Dungeons and Dragons, whenever I would play a dwarf, would be a dwarf warrior that had a dwarven thrower. That to me was just iconic. I loved that combination, and to this day I would play that character. Okay, self-seeding spike, shatterstone, stone bread, stone seal, stone tablet, stone melt, troll blight. And then different beasts that dwarves domesticate. We have the battle ram, the giant cricket, and the guard beetle. And the stat blocks for those. All right, and then we go into the magic of the dwarves. So again, this section I'm not super thrilled about, but there are some cool things in here. If you're going to play a dwarven magic user, then lots of dwarf flavored goodness here. You have spells of the sacred ancestors, which is a different tradition just for dwarves. Then we have, let's see here, other spells. So there's an alteration spell called Iron Beard, divination spell, geomancy spell, a couple of geomancy spells, pyromancy spell, symbolism spell. Then we go into magical rites. So magical rites were introduced in Glory to the Hide One, which expands the game's magic system. As a refresher, a rite functions as a spell that lacks castings on its own. You cast rites by expending the castings of other spells you have learned. If a rite instructs you to expend all the castings of a particular spell, you must expend them all to produce the rite's effect. All right, so that's how rites work. Get out of there. Talks about how you learn rites, the rite descriptions for dwarves, rite of blessed making, rite of righteous vengeance, spiritual guidance, and rite of the homeland, plenteous feast, and rite of the sacred oath. And then we have items of power. So we have belt of giants, the crown of the dwarf king, and the hammer of heroes, and then the horn of victory, and the tome of torments. Now I'm surprised the gem that they spoke of earlier isn't talked about in this section, because it kind of sounds to me like the gem that they referred to is very similar to that gem in The Hobbit. I forget what it's called. You guys know what I'm talking about. The glowy gem. Yeah. All right. So anyway, that's the magic section, and then that rounds out the book. You have an index, and then you have ways to get different source books and adventures and so on. All right. So that's it. That's your dwarf supplement. It's, again, an excellent supplement if you are into dwarves. And if you plan on running a dwarf in Shadow of the Weird Wizard, I would definitely recommend you pick this book up. All right, so that's all I got for you this week. Thanks for watching once again. If you liked the video, hit that subscribe button. I'm only saying that because it helps make the video more visible. Even though I've been doing this for several years now, my videos are not really that prolific. That's not the word I'm looking for. They're not that widespread. I don't have that many views. And so I think it's because the algorithm just isn't picking it up as a, the YouTube algorithm just isn't picking it up as a series of videos that should be recommended. And so the only way to change that is by interacting with the videos themselves, leaving a comment, liking, subscribing, all that shit helps to improve the algorithm. Now, I'm not monetized, so I don't really give a shit about getting more followers or more, more people subscribed or anything like that necessarily, because it doesn't give me anything. But again, my point and purpose of doing these videos, as I've mentioned many times, is to spread the word of the games for Schwab Entertainment. And so you can do your part by watching, liking, subscribing, and that way the videos will propagate more rapidly, more grandly than they have over the last several years. All right, so I'm done. I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Hail to the Demon Lord, and how the hell do you turn this damn thing off?